I am Agent Smith, Incident Archive 001, Survivor Account 0065. Subject, Jim Peterson. Location, recorded District 4. Status, Survivor. Recording authorized for public release. Please begin when ready.
My name's Jim Peterson, and this is how I survived the apocalypse.
For the record, the department officially refers to the event as an incident.
Right. Sorry. This is how I survived the incident. Anyway, it started like any other day. I got up, took a shower, grabbed a coffee, and headed to my dead-end warehouse job. I was already running late again. My manager would probably have something to say about that, but honestly, I'd stopped caring about that job a long time ago. Back then, my biggest worry was another lecture about punctuality. Funny how quickly your priorities change. Uh, I'd give anything to go back and sit through one more meeting about timekeeping. By the time I hit the dual carriageway, the traffic was crawling. It looked more like 9 in the morning than 6. Normally, at that time, the roads were practically empty. If I was running late, I could usually make up a few minutes on the drive. Not today, it seemed. Cars stretched as far as I could see, brake lights glowing red in the darkness. I sighed and took another sip of coffee. There'd probably been an accident on the M1 or the M25. It happened from time to time, but never this bad. It was practically gridlocked. One crash on either motorway, and the diversion routes clogged up every road for miles around. At the time, that seemed like the most reasonable explanation. I had no idea that some of those people weren't trying to get around an accident. They were trying to get away from something. Once I got past the London Colney roundabout, the traffic started to clear. I figured everyone had managed to get back onto the M25 at the next junction down. Whatever was causing the holdup was someone else's problem now. I put my foot down and made up some lost time. At least I wouldn't be late enough to earn myself another meeting. When I pulled into work, something immediately felt off. Usually, by that time, there'd be a queue of lorries waiting to get into the yard. Some mornings, the line stretched all the way back to the road. Today, there was one. Even when both motorways were closed, we still got 9 or 10 lorries coming from other ways in, but today, just one lonely lorry sat outside the gates with its engine idling. I remember sitting there for a second, staring at it. Even on weekends, with horrendous traffic, the place was never that quiet. I shrugged it off, parked up, and headed inside. The yard felt strange the moment I opened the door. Too quiet. I keyed in the alarm code, waited for the confirmation beep, and switched the system off. Then I stood there for a moment, listening. Nothing. Usually the company next door would already be in full swing by now. Forklifts, radios, shouting, metal clanging somewhere in the distance. Instead, there was nothing. No forklifts, no radios, no shouting from the yard, just silence. I should have paid more attention to that feeling. Instead, I grabbed another sip of coffee and prepared myself for another long, boring day. I got on with opening up and getting everything ready for the shift while I waited for Alex to turn up. Alex had been banging on about Arsenal reaching the Champions League final for months. Every day it was the same thing. This was their year. Nobody could stop them. Then they went and lost on penalties. There was absolutely no way I wasn't going to remind him about that. He knew it was coming too. I stepped outside for a smoke while I waited. A couple more lorries had pulled up outside the yard next door, but the industrial estate still felt strangely quiet. Not empty, just quiet, like it hadn't quite woken up yet. I figured the traffic chaos from earlier must have been caused by a serious accident somewhere. Still, something didn't feel right. Looking back now, it's funny how hard your brain works to find a normal explanation for things, even when something feels off. Lucy arrived while I was standing outside smoking. She always claimed she didn't smoke. At work, she'd act like cigarettes were disgusting and that she was far too classy for any of that. Give her a couple of glasses of Prosecco, though, and she'd be dragging me to the nearest corner shop asking me to buy her a packet. By that point, everyone knew she smoked. Nobody ever called her out on it. Maybe because it was funny watching her pretend otherwise. Maybe because we all had our own little secrets. Either way, we played along. So when she wandered over and asked for a cigarette, I handed her one without saying a word. Our little secret. At least, that's what she liked to think. Smoking at work? What will people think? You've got a reputation to uphold, remember?
Fuck that. Little man's dad is being a complete dickhead again. Ever since he started seeing his new missus, he doesn't want him every weekend anymore. Says every other weekend is enough. What about my social life?
Number one, he's always been a complete dickhead. Number two, you don't have a social life. We go to the pub, get drunk, and usually end up back at yours.
Yeah, but he doesn't know that. Maybe I do have a social life.
You don't.
It's not about that anyway. He just doesn't want to see his kid. Bad enough he barely pays for him.
Like I said, complete dickhead. She laughed and shook her head.
Plus all that traffic this morning. I was trying to get in early. I've got loads of reports to send off.
Good job you didn't. I only got here 5 minutes before you. You'd have been sat outside waiting. Lucy took a drag from her cigarette and looked at me.
Did you see all the police and ambulances?
I frowned. No, I saw the traffic backed up to the roundabout. But once I got past that, it cleared up. Figured there'd been a bad crash somewhere.
There were loads of them. Probably a pile-up.
Maybe. I shrugged. Either way, I was too busy trying to beat Steve in. Last thing I need is another one of his meetings.
He's not that bad.
Yes, he is. She laughed. He looks like Rain Man.
Oh, shut up.
What?
Just shut up and give me another cigarette.
We stood outside for another 10 minutes, smoking and talking rubbish like we always did. For a little while, the traffic was already forgotten. Just another bad morning. Just another thing to complain about. As I was lighting Lucy's second cigarette, my phone buzzed in my pocket. She raised an eyebrow.
Is that your secret girlfriend?
No, I said. She's standing next to me.
Don't say that out loud.
Why not?
Because someone might hear.
I looked around at the empty industrial estate. Who? We're the only people here. Alex hasn't turned up yet, and neither has Rain Man. She laughed and gave me a look that meant she liked hearing that. I pulled my phone out. Sky News. Multiple incidents reported on the M25. Commuters advised to seek alternative routes. Major delays expected. Carriageway closed in both directions. Result
What?
means we'll probably have an easy day. Hardly any deliveries are going to turn up.
You're unbelievable.
Bet Steve's furious. He hates traffic almost as much as he hates me.
You really are a child.
Yeah, but I'm a happy child. The morning carried on. We finished our cigarettes and headed inside. I made us both coffees and pulled a chair up next to her desk. Might as well stay in here where it's warm.
Checking up on me?
Obviously. She rolled her eyes. You know, one day somebody is going to believe we're actually together. I smiled.
That would be terrible.
Absolutely tragic. My phone buzzed again. Another Sky News notification. I opened it.
What's that one say?
Apparently, several hospitals have declared emergencies because of an unusually large number of flu patients. Lucy frowned.
Flu?
That's what it says.
Seems odd.
Not really. Hospitals panic every year when people start coughing near them. She didn't look convinced. Neither was I, but there wasn't much else to say. The world was still normal. At least it felt normal. For now, a few minutes later, another notification appeared. I opened it immediately. There's more about the motorway.
What now?
I read through the article, then read it again. Apparently, the army is being deployed.
The army?
She sat upright immediately.
What for?
No idea. I kept reading. They're saying it's some sort of CBRN incident.
A what?
CBRN? She stared at me blankly. I shrugged. No idea what that means. A quick search answered that. Chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear. Lucy looked horrified.
That sounds really bad.
It sounds bad.
So is it bad?
I thought about it for a second. Could be anything.
What do you mean anything?
Maybe a lorry carrying chemicals crashed. Or nuclear stuff. Or biological samples.
That's not helping.
I'm just saying, they probably use these incidents as training opportunities. If a truck spills something dangerous, they'll send everyone just to make sure procedures work.
You think that's all it is?
Honestly,
Yeah.
no idea. That answer didn't help either. Neither of us spoke for a moment. The warehouse suddenly felt quieter than before. Not physically, just mentally. Like something had shifted. Then the world changed. Every phone in the building erupted at once. The noise made both of us jump. It wasn't a text alert. It wasn't an app notification. It was loud, aggressive, a sound designed to force people to pay attention. Every phone was displaying the same message. Emergency alert. Remain indoors. Secure all doors and windows. Do not approach individuals displaying signs of severe confusion, delirium, or unusual behavior. Await further instructions. For a few seconds, nobody said anything. Lucy was staring at her screen. I was staring at mine. The words didn't feel real.
Jim,
I looked up. She looked terrified.
what does that mean?
I don't know.
Do we stay here?
I looked around the office, the warehouse, the industrial estate, the motorway. Everything suddenly felt wrong. We're leaving.
What?
We're leaving. We've had 3 different Sky News alerts, and now 2 government warnings something is definitely not right.
Can we do that?
Absolutely.
But the alert says,
I don't care what it says. She looked completely frozen, the sort of fear that locks people in place. I grabbed her handbag from beside the desk and handed it to her. Come on.
what about work?
I laughed. Lucy, I don't think work matters right now.
What about my car?
The car park is gated.
But
We'll lock it when we leave. If you take your car, you might not make it back. It's on its last legs. She still wasn't moving. I knew exactly why. Where's little man? That got her attention instantly.
school trip,
Where?
the Brecon beacons.
I nodded. Then he's probably safer than we are.
What if something's happened to him?
It hasn't.
You don't know that.
No. I stepped closer. But if all this is happening around here, he's over 100 miles away in the middle of nowhere. She swallowed hard. He'll be okay. I wasn't sure if I was convincing her or myself. Eventually, she nodded. We headed outside together. The industrial estate looked exactly the same as before. The same buildings, the same lorries, and the same gray sky. But now every person we passed was looking at their phone. Nobody was talking. Nobody knew what was happening. They were all trying to figure it out, just like us. As we got into the car, Lucy managed to get hold of little man almost immediately. The relief on her face was instant. He was fine, better than fine. The hotel had decided to lock down straight after the alert. All the kids thought it was brilliant. No hiking, no outdoor activities, unlimited access to suites, television, and video games. Apparently, someone had even found a PlayStation. The best school trip of his life. Lucy actually laughed. Uh, The first genuine laugh she'd managed since the alert. That was enough for me. I started the engine. We're going home. As we pulled onto the dual carriageway, the opposite lanes were still jammed, solid, except now many of the vehicles weren't moving at all. Some looked abandoned, drivers gone, doors open. At the time, I assumed people had simply given up and walked. Looking back now, that should have scared me far more than it did. If only I'd known then how this would all pan out. The drive back started quietly. Not because either of us was calm, quite the opposite. We were both trying very hard not to think about what was happening. Lucy sat staring out of the passenger window while repeatedly checking her phone. Every few minutes, she'd try calling little man again, just to make sure he was still okay. I didn't blame her. If he hadn't answered the first time, I'd probably have turned the car around and driven straight to Wales. The roads heading away were surprisingly clear. The opposite side wasn't. Miles of traffic sat completely stationary. Some cars were still occupied, others weren't. More than a few had been abandoned entirely. The whole thing felt wrong. Not dangerous, not yet, just wrong. Then another emergency alert blasted through both our phones. The noise nearly made me jump out of my skin. Lucy looked down at hers immediately. What does it say? I glanced across.
Prepare for extended periods indoors. Store drinking water in any available containers. Further instructions will follow.
I frowned. That's odd.
What?
They're telling people to store water. Lucy looked at me.
Like during lockdown?
I don't think lockdowns usually involve the army. Neither of us liked that thought.
I'm really scared.
I reached across and squeezed her hand. Hey. She looked at me. We're together. I nodded toward her phone. We know little man's safe.
For now.
For now is enough. She nodded. I could tell she was trying not to cry. I was trying not to panic. Those are two very different things. After a few minutes, I spoke again. I need to stop at mine.
What?
I've got a bag.
A bag?
Yeah. She stared at me.
You have a bag?
Don't laugh.
I'm already laughing.
It was after watching one of those survival programs.
Oh my God, like Bear Grylls. I'm not drinking piss.
What no? Like what you should pack if you need to survive a nuclear bomb or something. It seemed like a good idea at the time.
What is in this magical survival bag?
I thought about it. Water,
Good.
gaffer tape,
What?
tie wraps.
Why?
No idea. She laughed.
What else?
A flick knife. Her face dropped immediately. You have a flick knife? I bought it off a bloke in a pub.
Of course you did.
I was drunk.
You absolute idiot.
I grinned. Still counts as emergency preparedness.
No, it doesn't.
Well, we're about to find out. The rest of the drive passed without much conversation. The roads became quieter the closer we got to home. Fewer cars, fewer signs of life. Eventually, we started seeing military vehicles. At first, it was one or two, then entire convoys, army trucks, Land Rovers, ambulances, most heading toward wherever the incident had happened. Nobody heading away. Neither of us mentioned it. Then we saw the first roadblock. Concrete barriers, military vehicles parked across the road, soldiers wearing full protective suits, masks, visors, gloves, the sort of equipment you'd expect to see in a doomsday film, not on your morning commute.
What are they doing?
No idea, but I had a horrible feeling. As we drove past, I noticed then something else. I couldn't explain why, but the barriers looked wrong somehow. Looking back, I think that's because they didn't seem designed to stop something getting in. They looked designed to stop something getting out. That thought stayed with me. We carried on. A few minutes later, blue lights appeared behind us. Lucy twisted round.
Police?
Looks like it.
Are they pulling us over?
No idea. The police car accelerated rapidly. For a second, I genuinely thought they were coming after us. Then I noticed something strange. That they weren't using the siren properly. No bursts, no changes, just continuous noise. The car kept accelerating. Too fast, way too fast. We came to a long, sweeping bend. I moved over slightly. The police car didn't. It continued straight. No braking, no correction, nothing. It simply drove straight off the road. The vehicle vanished into a field. Neither of us spoke.
What the fuck?
I kept driving.
What happened?
I don't know.
Should we stop?
No. The answer came instantly, far too instantly.
Jim,
No. She stared at me. I kept my eyes on the road. Whatever had happened back there, I wasn't stopping to find out. The silence that followed was unbearable. Another alert interrupted it. This time, it wasn't advice. It was an order. Remain indoors. Avoid all unnecessary travel. Do not approach individuals displaying symptoms. Do not attempt to assist affected persons. Do not attempt to assist. That part stuck with me. Who tells people not to help? I felt my stomach tighten. This wasn't a chemical spill. This wasn't an accident. Something else was happening. Something nobody wanted to explain.
we need to get home.
We will. Neither of us noticed how tightly we were gripping our phones. Neither of us noticed how fast I was driving. All we wanted was somewhere familiar, somewhere safe. Home. We had hardly seen another car on the road the whole way home. Then, all of a sudden, one came flying through the junction. I had to slam on the brakes to stop from hitting him. He had just jumped. A red light. Didn't even slow down. But when he passed, I noticed a thick red stain down the passenger side window. It looked like a blood stain, but it shot by, so I couldn't be sure. Eventually, we reached my street. I pulled up outside and jumped out immediately. I'll be 2 minutes.
Jim,
I turned.
please hurry.
I nodded and headed inside. The house felt empty. Normal. Almost comforting. For the first time since the alert started, I was alone. No Lucy. No news alerts. No questions. Just silence. I stood in the hallway. And for a moment, the reality of everything nearly hit me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to panic. I wanted somebody to tell me everything was going to be okay. Instead, I picked up the survival bag. And then I noticed the axe. It was still leaning against the wall where I'd left it after helping Mrs. Smith cut back some branches from her tree. I stared at it for a second, then threw it into the bag. It felt ridiculous, like I was preparing for the end of the world in the worst way possible. But nothing about today had felt normal. I headed back outside. As I slammed the front door shut, something hit the passenger side window of my car. I nearly jumped out of my skin. A woman stood beside the vehicle, both hands pressed against the glass. At first, I thought she was injured. Then I looked closer. Blood. Blood everywhere, dripping from her mouth, her nose, her ears, even her eyes. She wasn't crying blood. It was pouring out of her. Her expression was completely blank. No fear, no panic, nothing. Just an empty stare. Slowly smearing blood across the window. My heart stopped. For a second, I couldn't move. Couldn't think. Couldn't breathe. I jumped into the car and locked the doors. Lucy looked horrified.
What the fuck is that?
I don't know. The woman stumbled into the road, still staring at us. still expressionless. I started the engine. As we pulled away, I looked in the mirror. She remained standing there, watching, not chasing, just watching.
What was wrong with her?
I gripped the steering wheel tighter. I think I swallowed, then looked back at the road. I think that's why the army is wearing those suits. Neither of us spoke again for the rest of the drive. For the first time all day, neither of us believed this was going to blow over. Whatever had happened on the motorway that morning, it was spreading, and it had just arrived in our town. The closer we got to Lucy's house, the stranger things became. People weren't acting normally anymore. They weren't calm. They weren't organized. They weren't even panicking properly. It was more like confusion, people rushing around without actually knowing what they were supposed to be doing. Everywhere we looked, somebody was loading a car, dragging suitcases, carrying boxes, arguing with neighbors, staring at their phones, trying to make sense of information that didn't make any sense. As we turned into Lucy's street, I noticed dark stains scattered across the road. Big ones, too big to be oil, too dark to be water. I couldn't be sure what they were. I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Then I saw the Jones family. Their electric camper van was parked outside. He always looked down on anyone who didn't drive electric prick, I thought. Every single storage compartment looked crammed full. Suitcases, boxes, bags, anything they could carry, they were leaving. Fast. The camper pulled away before we'd even stopped the car. I watched it disappear down the road. Then something caught my eye. A dog, sitting patiently on the pavement, waiting, watching. Its tail wagged slightly every time a car passed, waiting for its family to come back, except they weren't coming back. Are they seriously leaving their dog? I asked. Lucy looked over.
Oh my God!
The camper vanished around the corner. The dog remained exactly where it was, still waiting. I climbed out immediately.
Jim,
I'm not leaving him.
you can't just steal someone's dog.
I'm not stealing him. I crossed the road. The dog stood up instantly and trotted over. Friendly, confused, trusting, completely unaware that he'd just been abandoned. They left him behind.
Maybe they'll come back.
They had enough time to load half their house into that camper. I clipped my hand around his collar. They're not coming back. The dog leaned against my leg. Decision made. Come on then. Lucy shook her head.
What are we even going to do with a dog?
You've been hinting for months that you wanted one.
Not during whatever this is.
Perfect timing then. She tried not to smile. Failed. The dog followed us across the road. As soon as we stepped through the front door, every phone in the house screamed again. Another emergency alert. This time it was different. Government authorities were establishing containment and safety sites. Several locations were listed. Village halls, community centers, schools, places people could travel to for assistance. Lucy looked at me.
Should we go?
No. The answer came instantly.
Why not?
Think about it.
They're supposed to be safe.
Maybe. I pointed toward the screen. Remember how angry you get when somebody sends their kid to school with flu?
That's different.
Is it? She hesitated. I continued. If people are scared, sick, injured, or infected, or whatever this is, where do you think they're all heading?
The containment sites.
Exactly. I sat down. The last place I want to be is trapped in a building full of frightened strangers. She didn't look convinced, but she didn't argue either. Deep down, I think she already agreed. The house felt safer, familiar, controllable, at least for now. She managed to get hold of little man again. The news was encouraging. The hotel had locked down and contacted the authorities. The teachers were staying put. The children were safe. More importantly, little man sounded like he was having the time of his life. Unlimited suites, PlayStation, no schoolwork, no hiking, no bedtime. To him, it was paradise. To Lucy, it was everything she needed to hear. The tension visibly drained from her shoulders. At least one thing had gone right. When did you last go shopping?
Yesterday.
I smiled. Perfect. She looked confused.
What?
Oh, we need supplies.
Jim, we're not surviving the end of the world.
No. She folded her arms.
No.
I pointed toward the emergency alert. They're literally telling people to store water.
Okay, that's a little concerning.
A little? She sighed. That's
Fine. What do we need?
every container you own,
What?
every bottle, every jug, every container that can hold water. She stared at me.
You've finally lost your mind.
Possibly. I pointed toward the kitchen. Go. Still muttering to herself, she disappeared. 5 minutes later, she returned carrying a handful of bottles.
See?
Then she went back into the kitchen and returned with more, then more, then more again. Eventually, I started counting 20, 25, and 30, 38. How do you own 38 water bottles? She froze.
They're different colours.
So?
They match different outfits.
I blinked. She blinked. Neither of us spoke. Finally, I nodded. Fair enough. She laughed. For the first time all day, it felt genuine. We spent the next hour filling containers, water bottles, sports bottles, flasks, anything we could find. Every cupboard seemed to contain another hidden stash. At some point, the emergency alert started again. This time, they were warning people to avoid certain containment sites due to overcrowding. I looked at Lucy. Told you. She didn't reply. Instead, she just stared at the screen. Then suddenly, her eyes filled with tears. Before I could say anything, she broke down completely. I caught her before she hit the floor. What happened? She shook her head.
I don't know.
But I did. This wasn't about the containment sites. It wasn't about the alerts. It wasn't even about the infected. This was the moment it became real. No more pretending. No more convincing ourselves everything would be okay tomorrow. The world we'd known yesterday was gone. She buried her face in my chest and cried. I just held her. There wasn't anything else I could do. A few moments later, a furry head appeared beside us, the dog. He climbed onto the sofa and rested his chin on her lap. Instantly, her hand found his head. See, I said quietly. Already likes you. She smiled through the tears. The dog wagged his tail.
What's his name?
I thought for a second. Then remembered hearing the Jones family shouting for him before. Shadow. She scratched behind his ears.
Good boy.
His tail thumped happily against the sofa. For the first time since leaving work, the house felt calm. Not safe, not normal, but calm. Outside, sirens continued in the distance. Phones continued buzzing. People continued fleeing. But inside the house, for a few brief moments, there was just us. Me, Lucy, and Shadow. None of us knew it yet. But this would be the last peaceful evening we had for a very long time. As the afternoon wore on, I started thinking about security. Water was great. Food was great. None of it mattered if one of those things came through the front window. I gathered together everything I thought might be useful. The kitchen table lost its legs. Some old MDF offcuts I'd used for various projects suddenly became barricade material. I even wrapped a cloth around the hammer to deaden the sound while I worked. The last thing I wanted was to advertise our location. By the time I'd finished, every downstairs window was covered, and both doors had been reinforced. It wasn't Fort Knox, but it was better than nothing. Once the house was secured, we started moving supplies upstairs. If we spent most of our time up there, hopefully any noise we made wouldn't travel as far. While carrying the last few bottles, I glanced out of the upstairs window. Smoke rose from several points across town, and below I spotted 5 or 6 of those things moving through gardens and across parked cars. They didn't seem coordinated, not yet, but they also didn't seem completely random anymore. That worried me more than anything. The first evening passed slowly. Neither of us wanted to admit it, but we were waiting. Waiting for another alert, waiting for news, waiting for anyone, to explain what was happening. The explanation never came. The television channels had stopped reporting anything useful. Most were showing the same government information over and over. Stay indoors. Lock all doors and windows. Avoid anyone displaying symptoms. Do not travel. Do not approach affected individuals. Nothing about the people we'd seen. Nothing about the blood. Nothing about why the army was sealing roads. Nothing about why the world suddenly felt like it was ending. As darkness began to settle outside, I noticed Shadow becoming restless. He kept pacing between the back door and the living room.
You think he needs to go out?
Probably.
We made him a litter tray.
I looked over at the makeshift setup we'd put together. He knows that's not what it's for. Shadow stared at the back door, then back at us, then back at the door again. Yeah, I said. He's definitely waiting to be let outside. That brought another problem to mind. I'd practically sealed us inside the house. Not exactly ideal if we needed to leave quickly. I need to change something.
What?
The back door. Lucy frowned.
What about it?
If we need to get out fast, I don't want to spend 5 minutes pulling boards off. She nodded reluctantly. I grabbed some tools and headed downstairs. The boards came off quickly enough. Instead of replacing them, I built a simple frame beneath the handle using nails and scrap wood. The door opened outwards, which helped. Anyone trying to force their way in would have a much harder time than someone trying to get out. At least that was the theory. When I finished, I grabbed a torque wrench from my tool bag.
What do you need that for?
Because if something goes wrong, I'd rather hit it with this than a water bottle.
Fair point.
I opened the back door. Shadow exploded into the garden like he'd been released from prison. His tail wagged furiously as he sprinted around. The normality of it was almost comforting. A dog being a dog. Something in the world still made sense. I was just about to call him back when movement exploded from the bushes on my left. There was no warning, no scream, no footsteps, nothing. 1 second the garden was empty. The next something was charging directly at me. Instinct took over. I swung the torque wrench as hard as I could. The impact felt sickening. A deep, hollow thud. The figure spun sideways and crashed into the grass. For a second, I just stood there, frozen, trying to understand what had happened. The thing, person, whatever it was trying to get back up. Its limbs moved awkwardly, like they didn't quite belong to it anymore. Like a newborn deer trying to stand. Shadow, the dog reacted instantly. I threw the door open. Inside. He bolted through. I followed him. The wooden frame dropped back into place. My heart hammered against my ribs. I stood there staring at the door, trying to process what I had just seen. Then came the impact. Thud. The entire door shook. Lucy jumped.
What was that?
Thud. Another hit. Harder. We ran upstairs. I peeked through the bedroom window. The same thing I'd hit was now slamming itself into the back door, head first. Again and again. Thud. 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 I still hear that sound in my dreams. Each impact was brutal. No attempt to use the handle. No attempt to force the lock. Just mindless violence. Like it only understood one thing: to get inside. The thing staggered backwards. Its balance was deteriorating rapidly. Okay, dark blood coated its face. But there was something wrong with it. The eyes, they weren't normal. They weren't even human. They looked completely black, like polished marbles shoved into empty sockets.
What is it?
I don't know. The answer felt inadequate. But it was the truth. Thud. Another impact. This one weaker. The creature stumbled, collapsed, tried to stand, failed. Thud. One final strike. Then silence. We waited. Neither of us moving. Neither of us breathing properly. Eventually, I looked outside again. The thing was lying motionless on the ground, a pool of liquid slowly spreading beneath it. Not red, black, jet black.
What is that?
No idea. I couldn't stop staring. Blood wasn't supposed to look like that. Eventually, she broke the silence.
The door held.
I nodded. Yeah,
That's good, right?
yeah. But I wasn't really thinking about the door. I was thinking about how fast it had moved, how quietly it had approached, how it had come from nowhere. Most of all, I was thinking about those eyes. The thing we'd seen earlier in the street had looked sick. This looked like something else entirely. A few minutes later, I made a decision. I'm going downstairs. Lucy turned immediately.
What?
I need to check the door.
No,
The frame could be damaged.
no.
I need to know.
There could be more of them.
I understood her fear. Truthfully, I shared it. But if the door had been weakened, we needed to know now, not when something else came crashing into it. I'll be fine. She looked unconvinced. I've got the wrench.
That's not reassuring.
I smiled weakly. It didn't help. Carefully, I made my way downstairs. Every step felt louder than it should. Every creak sounded like a gunshot. I found myself crouching instinctively, as if moving lower somehow made me quieter. It probably didn't. But fear doesn't always make sense. I reached the back door, checked the hinges, checked the frame, checked the lock. Everything looked intact. No cracks, no splits, no signs of failure. The frame I'd built was still in place. The door had held. I exhaled slowly. At least that was one piece of good news. When I returned upstairs, Lucy was sitting on the edge of the bed, her leg bouncing uncontrollably. The moment she saw me, she stood up.
Oh my God.
I smiled. Told you. She wrapped her arms around me. Okay. The relief was obvious.
The door's fine.
Perfect. She nodded. Then looked at the television. The news channels were gone. Every single one. In their place was a plain government screen. No presenters, no reporters, no interviews, just a looping message. Lockdown in effect. Remain indoors. Do not answer the door. More information to follow. The lights flickered, only briefly, but we both noticed. Lucy grabbed my hand. I squeezed hers. We've got water. She nodded. We got food. Another nod. We've got torches. She took a breath. And shadow. that finally earned a smile. The dog immediately jumped onto the bed as if hearing his name, curled up beside us, completely unconcerned. Uh, Lucky bastard. Lucy looked at me.
What are we going to do? Long term? Short term? Tomorrow? Next week?
I had no answer. And for the first time, neither did the government. I glanced out the window. The street was almost completely dark now. Somewhere in the distance, another scream echoed through the night. Then another, and another. None of them sounded human anymore. I pulled the duvet back. Come on,
What?
let's get some sleep. She laughed nervously. All right,
Seriously?
it's dark. I shrugged. We're trapped in a boarded up house during what might be the apocalypse. My point is, there's nothing we can do tonight. She thought about it, then nodded. Together we climbed into bed. Shadow immediately claimed the space at our feet. Lucy moved closer. I wrapped an arm around her. Outside, distant screams drifted across the sleeping town. Inside, nobody slept much at all. But eventually, exhaustion won, and for a few hours at least, the world disappeared. I don't think so. Either of us slept properly. Every time a scream echoed somewhere in the distance, one of us would wake up. Every creak of the house sounded like something trying to get in. Every gust of wind made me wonder if another one of those things was outside. By the time dawn finally started breaking, we'd both been awake for at least an hour. Neither of us wanted to be the first one to look outside. Eventually, I got up and carefully moved to the window. The pale morning light revealed a street that looked completely different from the one we'd gone to sleep in. There were more of them. Not loads. Maybe 6 or 7. But definitely more than yesterday. The strange thing was they seemed calmer. The frantic movements we'd seen before were gone. Most were just shambling around aimlessly. Occasionally, one would stop, turn its head, listen, then continue wandering. The distant screams still echoed now and again, but these ones barely reacted. A few heads would turn, nothing more. Yeah, I thought about it. Depends on your definition. She joined me at the window. The word barely escaped her lips. The infected wandered through gardens, across driveways, between parked cars. None of them seemed interested in anything. At least not right now. I moved to the back window. Immediately, something caught my attention. The body was gone. The thing I'd hit with the torque wrench. The thing that had smashed itself against the back door until it died. Gone. Lucy had seen my face. The bodies disappeared. I pointed. The grass was empty. Only a dark smear remained. A trail of dried black liquid stretched across the garden before disappearing through a gap in the fence. Need to patch that ASAP. Like something had dragged it away during the night. Neither of us had heard a thing. Not a footstep, not a scrape. Nothing. Maybe. The alternative possibilities were worse. I wasn't interested in exploring them. The garden itself looked clear. No movement. No sign of anything nearby. I turned away from the window. Come on. Fancy a cigarette? She laughed softly. Looking back, it makes zero sense to go outside with what was happening, but deep down, we wanted normality. Again, we couldn't let go of the fact normality was gone. We headed downstairs. I grabbed some of the leftover MDF to patch the gap in the fence. Even Shadow seemed to understand the rules now. He moved quietly behind us, tail wagging, thinking this was all some elaborate game. I carefully removed the frame from the back door, opened it, and stepped outside. The morning air felt surprisingly normal. Fresh, cold, peaceful, which somehow made everything worse. I threw an old sheet over the black stain in the garden. I didn't particularly want any of us walking through it, especially not Shadow. The moment he was released, he bounded across the grass, happily investigating every corner of the garden. Lucy stood in the doorway smoking, while I kept watch. After securing the gap in the fence, I checked the rest of it, and it was really sturdy. For a few minutes, everything felt almost ordinary. No screams, no movement, no chaos. Just a couple sharing a cigarette while the dog ran around. The illusion didn't last long. Soon enough, we were back inside. I filled Shadow's bowl, fresh water, some food. He attacked breakfast like he'd just completed a marathon. At least someone was enjoying themselves. The water was still running. Good. I immediately started refilling the bottles we'd already used.
Still working?
Yep,
Good.
for now. She nodded. The words neither of us wanted to say hung in the air. For now. Everything seemed to come with those two words attached. The water. For now. The electricity. For now. The phone signal. For now, even us. For now. I looked toward the bathroom. I'm having a shower. Lucy raised an eyebrow.
Now?
Yes,
The apocalypse and you're worried about personal hygiene.
I shrugged. If civilization's ending, I'm not doing it smelling like a mechanic's armpit. That finally earned a proper laugh.
Fair enough.
A few minutes later, we were both standing under the hot water. Normally, I'd have enjoyed every second of it. Normally, we'd have been messing around, laughing, enjoying the fact we finally had some time together. Instead, both of us seemed distracted, lost in our own thoughts. The water washed away the dirt. It didn't wash away the fear. When we finished and got dressed, Lucy immediately picked up her phone.
I'm calling little man.
I checked the time. Good luck.
What does that mean?
It's 7:30.
So,
He spent all day and probably all night eating sweets and playing PlayStation with his mates. She smiled.
true.
He's probably in a sugar coma. She rolled her eyes and dialed anyway. For nearly half an hour, she got nothing. Then finally, the call connected. The smile that appeared on her face could have lit the entire room. I didn't even need to hear the conversation. I knew instantly. He was okay. She spent ages talking to him, mostly listening. Apparently, the novelty still hadn't worn off. Unlimited sweets and no school remained the greatest thing to ever happen in his life. The hotel had decided everyone would stay put until they received proper instructions. No traveling, no moving the children, no rushing decisions. That made me feel slightly better too. At least somebody somewhere was still thinking rationally. When she finally ended the call, she looked happier than she'd been since all this started. He's good.
He's brilliant.
Excellent.
He sounds excited.
I laughed. Of course he does. The smile stayed on her face for a while. Long enough for me to remember what normal looked like. Eventually, I headed back to the window. The infected were still wandering, still searching, still changing, because that was the thing I couldn't shake. They weren't behaving consistently. The one from yesterday had moved like a predator, fast, focused, silent. The ones outside now seemed slower, duller, almost confused. Maybe they were at different stages. Maybe they were evolving, but maybe there was no pattern at all. None of those possibilities made me feel any better. I watched one stop in the middle of the road, tilt its head, then wander off again, like it had forgotten what it was doing. A scream echoed somewhere far away. The infected turned toward it, then slowly carried on walking. I stepped away from the window. Whatever this is, I said quietly. Lucy looked up.
What?
I don't think it's finished. Her smile faded. Outside, the morning sun climbed higher into the sky, and somewhere beyond the town, more screams answered one another across the distance, like a conversation neither of us could understand. The rest of the morning passed quietly, too quietly. The infected continued wandering the streets, but they seemed less active during daylight hours, or maybe that was just wishful thinking. Either way, none of them came near the house. Not for a while. I spent the next hour topping up every container we owned, every bottle, every jug, every pan, anything that could hold water got filled. Then I filled the bath, right to the brim. Lucy walked into the bathroom and stared at it.
What are you doing?
Storing water.
It's a bath.
It's a giant water container. She shook her head.
You've definitely lost it.
I pointed towards the ceiling. The lights flickered last night.
So?
So if the power goes, the pumps might stop. Her expression changed slightly.
Oh,
Exactly. She looked down at the full bath.
actually, that's not a terrible idea.
Thank you.
I'm not admitting you're right.
Too late. She laughed and walked away. The sound felt rare these days. The television wasn't helping. Every channel had now been replaced by the same automated government message. No presenters, no reporters, no interviews, no updates. Just the same warning on an endless loop. Remain indoors. Avoid infected individuals. Await further instructions. What further instructions? Nobody seemed to know. We hadn't seen emergency services. We hadn't seen soldiers. We hadn't seen anyone helping anyone. The entire town felt abandoned, as if somebody had simply switched civilization off. I was standing at the window when a thought hit me. Shadow. The dog immediately looked up, tail wagging, always hopeful that his name meant food. Not right now, bud. His tail stopped. I felt slightly guilty. Lucy looked up from her phone.
What?
Dog food. She frowned.
What about it?
We don't have much.
We have enough for now.
For now. There were those words again. For now. I glanced across the road at the Joneses' house. Empty. Silent. Waiting. An idea immediately formed. It wasn't a good idea. Most of my ideas weren't. But it was an idea. I'm going over there. Lucy's eyes widened.
No,
Yes.
no.
They'll have dog food.
They might have an alarm.
They might.
They might have infected people inside.
They might.
You're still going.
Yep. She stared at me. I stared back. Eventually she sighed.
I hate how predictable you are.
I smiled. I know. The plan itself was terrible. Even I knew that. I grabbed a hoodie, some gloves, a scarf, and the little emergency glass hammer from my car. When I walked back into the bedroom, Lucy burst out laughing. An actual laugh. The kind that left tears in her eyes. What? She pointed at me.
What the fuck do you look like?
I looked down. Someone committing a burglary.
It's 9:30 in the morning.
So?
Who are you hiding from?
I thought about it. Fair point. Fine. I removed the scarf. The gloves stayed. I'm keeping the gloves.
Good.
She pointed at me again.
Burglar Bill.
I rolled my eyes. Very funny.
It is.
I checked outside one final time. Some of the infected were still wandering. Others were standing motionless. The ones further down the road seemed far more active than the ones nearby. That bothered me. I still hadn't figured out why. Eventually, I grabbed the crowbar, the glass hammer, and headed outside. Locked the door behind me. She nodded.
I hate this.
I know. The frame dropped into place as soon as I stepped out. I moved along the side of the house carefully. Every sound seemed amplified. Every movement felt dangerous. When I reached the end of the drive, I peeked around the corner. Left and clear. Right. A few infected, too far away to matter. For now, I sprinted across the road. The Joneses' driveway felt strangely exposed, like standing in the middle of a stage. I checked the front window. Nothing. No movement. No signs of life. Then I noticed something. The front door wasn't fully closed. It sat slightly ajar, just enough to make my stomach tighten. Slowly, I pushed it open. The house was a mess. Drawers hanging open, cupboards emptied, furniture overturned, like somebody had searched the place in a hurry. I started in the living room. Okay. Found a lead clip behind a chair. Perfect. Shadows now. I stuffed it into an empty holdall I'd found near the door. Then I moved into the kitchen. Jackpot. 2 large bags of dry dog food, 24 tins of wet food. I almost laughed. The dog was eating better than we were. The holdall quickly filled. Dog food, rice, pasta, peanut butter, sweet corn, tinned fruit, water bottles, anything useful. I was just about ready to leave when I heard it. Bang. I froze. The sound had come from upstairs, not outside, inside. Slowly, I turned towards the staircase. A dark red blood trail stained one side of the wall. The other side was covered in dried black residue. The same black liquid I'd seen beneath the infected. The same stuff that had stained my garden. My stomach dropped. I stared at the staircase, then immediately made a decision. Absolutely not. Whatever was upstairs could stay upstairs. I turned and headed straight for the front door. As quietly as possible, as quickly as possible. The moment I stepped outside, I looked toward Lucy's window. She was already there, watching, and judging by her expression, absolutely terrified. Okay. I gave her a thumbs up. She didn't look reassured. I made my way back across the road. Then I heard it. A scream. Close, very close. I froze instantly. The sound had come from somewhere nearby, too nearby. I glanced toward the end of the street. One of them was moving, fast, far faster than the others. I threw the tins over the fence first, then the holdall, then climbed after them. Just as I swung my legs over the top, another scream erupted. This one felt right beside me. I hit the ground hard, spun around, and saw it. The infected came charging into view, moving with that same terrifying speed I'd seen before, almost like it knew I was there. Almost. I stayed perfectly still, barely breathing. The creature reached the fence. X6 slammed into it, then stopped. Its head tilted slightly, sniffing, listening, searching. My heart hammered so hard I was convinced it could hear it. The infected smashed its head against the fence once. Twice. I've never been happier for a sturdy fence. Then suddenly turned and sprinted away, gone, just like that. I remained frozen for several seconds, making absolutely sure. Only then did I grab the supplies and head toward the back door. Lucy was waiting, and judging by the look on her face, I was in trouble. The moment I stepped through the back door, Lucy was on me.
What the hell were you thinking?
I set the hold all down. Hello to you too.
I'm serious.
So am I.
You were gone for ages.
It wasn't that long.
Jim!
The look she gave me immediately shut me up. She wasn't angry. Not really. She was scared, terrified. I saw it the second her voice cracked.
Do you know what it was like watching you nearly get caught by one of those things?
I opened my mouth, closed it again, because honestly, she was right. I'd been stupid. I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around her. I'm sorry. She didn't respond. I mean it. Still nothing. I shouldn't have gone in. That finally broke her. The tears started immediately.
What if you'd been caught?
I held her tighter.
What if you didn't come back?
I'm here.
But what if you weren't?
I didn't have an answer because I'd asked myself exactly the same question when I saw that blood trail on the stairs. Eventually, she pulled away and wiped her eyes.
I'm sorry.
Don't be.
I just.
Her voice broke again.
I don't know what I'd do if something happened to you.
I kissed her forehead. Nothing's happening to me. She laughed bitterly.
That's not how this works.
Maybe not. But it was all I had. Eventually, we carried everything upstairs: the dog food, the tins, the water bottles, the supplies, anything useful. Once we'd settled down, Lucy looked at me. Uh,
What was the house like?
I hesitated. Not empty.
What?
That's the thing. I sat down on the bed. I watched them leave.
So did I.
The camper definitely left. She nodded.
So who was upstairs?
I shook my head. No idea. The room went quiet.
Maybe they came back.
Maybe. But neither of us believed that. The black residue on the walls told its own story. Something had been in that house. Something recent. Something I didn't want to meet. We spent the next couple of hours watching the street. Neither of us felt much like talking. The atmosphere outside was changing again. More infected were appearing, not huge numbers, but enough to notice, enough to make me uncomfortable. Eventually, Lucy stood up.
I'm going to fill the new bottles.
I nodded. She got halfway across the room before I spoke. Come here. She looked confused.
What?
Just come here. She walked back over. I pulled the duvet around both of us and eased her down onto the bed.
What are you doing?
Nothing. She smiled.
Nothing?
Exactly. I wrapped an arm around her. No worrying. She rested her head against my shoulder. No thinking.
That's impossible.
Try. For a few minutes, we just lay there. No television, no phones, no infected, no apocalypse, just us. The closest thing to peace we'd had in days. For 4 or 5 glorious minutes, the world almost felt normal again. Then, thud. We both froze. Thud. A scream followed. Then another. Thud. Screech. Thud. Screech. I sat upright immediately. What the hell? We rushed to the window. The sound was coming from 3 houses down on the opposite side of the road. There were 8 or 9 infected gathered outside. One of them backed away, then sprinted forward, straight at the front door. Thud. The entire house shook. All the others screamed. The infected stumbled backwards, then charged again. Thud. The screams followed. Again, and again, and again, until eventually the attacker collapsed. Immediately, another one stepped forward, like they'd been taking turns. Lucy stared.
Oh my God.
The second infected repeated the process. Thud, screech, thud, screech, thud. Eventually, the door gave way. The infected exploded inside, every single one. The screams stopped. For a few moments, all we could do was watch. They moved through the house room by room, searching, checking, looking for something or someone. Then they emerged and headed next door. My stomach dropped. They're learning.
What?
They're searching houses. The infected gathered outside the next property. Then the process started again. Thud, screech, thud, screech. The pattern repeated. Methodical, purposeful, terrifying. Lucy looked at me.
What do we do?
I didn't answer immediately because for the first time since this all started, I genuinely wasn't sure. We had 2 options: stay or leave. Neither one felt good. I looked around the room, the food, the water, the supplies, the barricades, everything we'd worked so hard to put together. Then I looked back outside at the infected slowly working their way down the street, house by house, door by door. They're eventually going to get here. The words tasted horrible. Lucy nodded. She already knew.
So what do we do?
I took a deep breath. We stay.
What?
For now. She looked surprised. We reinforce everything. I pointed downstairs. Front door. Windows. Anything weak. Then I pointed outside. We load the car.
Everything?
Half the supplies.
Why?
Because if they get in, I didn't finish the sentence. I didn't need to. She understood.
If they get in, we run.
I nodded. The room fell silent. That was the reality now. Not surviving forever. Not winning. Just staying one step ahead. Eventually, Lucy picked up her phone.
I'm going to call Little Man.
I nodded. Use the bathroom.
What?
The walls are thin. She looked confused. Then another distant thud echoed through the street. Understanding crossed her face. She disappeared into the bathroom. I sat on the edge of the bed. Shadow immediately jumped up beside me, curled against my leg, like he knew something was wrong. Maybe he did. The phone call lasted a while. When Lucy returned, she looked happier and somehow more frightened at the same time. He's okay.
Good. He wants to know when he's coming home.
The smile vanished.
I told him soon.
I looked away because neither of us knew if that was true. Then she told me what the teacher had said. The hotel had received word from the army. The children might be moved. The plan had already changed twice. Nobody seemed to know where they were going, or when, or why. The information kept changing. Every few hours, every new message contradicting the last. The room suddenly felt colder because I knew what that meant. The people in charge didn't know what they were doing anymore. And if they didn't know, what chance did the rest of us have? I looked toward the window. The infected were still working through the houses, slowly, patiently, relentlessly. Then I looked back at Lucy, and for the first time, a new thought entered my head. If they moved, little man, would we ever find him again? That night was worse than the one before. The infected continued working their way through the street long after darkness fell. Thud, screech, thud, screech, over and over, hour after hour. The sounds became part of the background, not because they were less terrifying, because there were simply too many of them. At some point, around 4 in the morning, the pattern changed. The screams became different, frenzied, excited, almost triumphant. Then we heard something else. A human scream. It lasted only a few seconds, then it stopped. The infected kept screaming for another minute or two before silence finally returned. Neither of us said a word. We didn't need to. We both knew exactly what had happened. Somebody had still been inside one of those houses. Eventually, exhaustion dragged us into a light sleep. When I opened my eyes again, the room was filled with pale morning light. Something felt different, wrong. I climbed out of bed and looked outside. Every infected in sight was standing perfectly still. Not wandering, not searching, and not screaming. Standing, mouths hanging open, faces pointed directly at the sky. What the hell are they doing? Lucy sat up.
What?
I pointed outside. She joined me at the window. The sight was bizarre. Half a dozen infected stood scattered across the road, every single one staring upwards, motionless, like statues.
Are they sleeping?
I don't think so.
Then what are they doing?
I didn't answer because I had absolutely no idea. Communicating, receiving instructions, listening. Theories flashed through my head. None of them sounded sane, yet neither did the reality outside. Lucy checked her phone. No missed calls, no messages, nothing.
I'll try the teachers again.
I nodded. Maybe give it half an hour.
Why?
It's barely 7. She sighed.
You're probably right.
For the next 30 minutes, we watched. The infected never moved, never blinked, never reacted, just stared upwards. Then, without warning, every single one took off, full speed. One moment they were standing still, the next they were sprinting. Not shambling, not stumbling, running, like a pack of wolves chasing wounded prey. What the hell? At that exact moment, Lucy's phone rang. She answered instantly. It was one of the teachers. I could hear enough of the conversation and know something had changed.
What do you mean they've changed it again?
Pause.
How can they do that?
Pause.
Why?
More silence. The color drained from her face. Eventually, she ended the call and sat down heavily on the edge of the bed. What's happened?
The army's arrived.
I already didn't like where this was going.
They're moving the children.
What?
They've changed the destination twice already.
Twice. She nodded.
The containment sites are apparently full.
Containment sites full? That sounded an awful lot like containment sites overrun. I didn't say that out loud. Lucy looked scared enough already. When are they moving them?
This afternoon?
I stared at the floor, thinking, trying to make sense of it. The hotel had been safe. The teachers had been sensible. The kids were secure. Why move them? Unless where they were going wasn't safer. Or somebody higher up was panicking. Neither option filled me with confidence. Lucy looked at me. What?
We need to get little man.
I expected myself to argue. To tell her he was safer there. To tell her we'd be idiots to leave. Instead, I realized I didn't believe any of those things anymore. The infected had figured out houses. The containment sites were failing. The government broadcasts had disappeared. And now the army was moving children between locations. They kept changing every few hours. I didn't trust any of it. We're getting him. The relief on Lucy's face was immediate.
You mean it?
I nodded. Yeah.
Okay.
The single word carried more hope than anything she'd said in days. We moved quickly. Everything we prepared yesterday finally had a purpose. Half the food, half the water, the batteries, the torches, the first aid supplies. Everything went into the car. The plan we'd made in case we needed to flee had suddenly become reality. To my surprise, everything fitted much easier than I'd expected. The estate car swallowed supplies like it had been built for exactly this situation. Shadow jumped into the back without needing any encouragement. Lucy helped load the last of the water bottles. Then we both froze. A scream echoed through the street. Close, much closer than before. Then another, then another. They're back. I slammed the boot shut. Get in. Lucy didn't argue. The moment everyone was inside, I started the engine. The noise felt impossibly loud, like a dinner bell. The screams immediately intensified. I put the car into gear. Movement appeared at the end of the street. Then more movement, then lots of movement. The infected were coming. Fast, far too fast. I floored it. The tires spun briefly before gripping. As we shot down the road, I saw them breaching the house. Hands slammed against the rear window. 1, 2, 3 impacts. Then they were gone, left behind as we accelerated away. Neither of us spoke, not until the street disappeared in the mirrors. Only then did Lucy take a breath.
We actually did it.
Not yet.
What?
We don't have him yet. The words hung in the air because they were true. We'd escaped. That was all. The real mission was only just beginning. Somewhere in Wales, the little man was waiting for a lift home, and we intended to be the ones giving it to him. The motorway was almost empty. Not completely, just empty enough to feel wrong. A road that should have been packed with commuters and lorries now stretched out in front of us like something abandoned. For the first time since all this started, I could really put my foot down. The RS6 surged forward effortlessly. Lucy glanced over.
How fast are we going?
Fast enough.
That's not a number.
It's the apocalypse.
That's still not a number.
I smiled. Less than the car can do. She rolled her eyes.
You're impossible.
In the back, little man would have loved this. The thought hit me harder than expected. We were driving to get him. Actually, driving to get him. For the first time since the alert started, we had a clear objective. Get to the hotel. I could get little man, get somewhere safe. The problem was, I no longer knew where that safe place was. After nearly an hour of driving, the fuel gauge dropped below a quarter tank. I eased off slightly. We're going to need fuel. Lucy looked at the dashboard.
Can we get any?
I don't know. A motorway service station appeared a few miles ahead. It was our best chance. When we pulled in, the place looked abandoned. The giant car park sat mostly empty. Rows of fencing divided sections of it into neat compounds. Beyond them stood what looked like temporary screening tents, testing tunnels, checkpoint lanes. Something had been set up here in a hurry and then abandoned. The petrol light came on as I rolled to a stop beside a pump. Perfect timing. I grabbed the nozzle. Nothing. Of course. Lucy looked worried immediately.
You need to go inside, don't you?
Probably.
No.
Probably.
Jim.
We need fuel. There wasn't really an argument against that. She knew it. I knew it. Neither of us liked it. I'll be 2 seconds.
You always say that.
I pointed at the nozzle. Keep hold of that. She looked genuinely terrified.
I hate this.
I know. The automatic doors kept trying to close but couldn't. Something was blocking them. As I got closer, I realized what it was. A baby carrier, covered in blood. I stopped. Just for a second. Trying not to imagine what had happened. Trying not to think about where the baby was. Then I stepped over it and went inside. The service station was silent. The kind of silence that feels wrong. I leaned over the counter and pressed the button to activate the pumps. Simple. Done. Then I heard it. Shuffling. Coming from the back room. Slow, uneven, moving. I didn't wait around. On my way out, I grabbed whatever I could reach, then headed straight back outside. Lucy looked ready to have a heart attack.
What was it?
No idea.
What do you mean, no idea?
I mean, I didn't stop to ask. She stared at me.
Is it coming?
No,
Are you sure?
no. That didn't help. I started filling the tank, then remembered something. Don't put the nozzle back.
What?
Not yet. I opened the boot and pulled out a metal fuel container. Lucy looked horrified.
Oh my God.
What?
I thought something terrible had happened.
Something terrible has happened.
You know what I mean.
I filled the container too. 20 extra liters. It wasn't much, but it might be the difference between moving and being stranded. When we finally pulled away, I glanced back towards the service station. The door behind the counter burst open violently, like something had kicked it off its hinges. I never saw what came out. and I had absolutely no intention of finding out. A while later, I looked through the pile of things I'd grabbed. Well,
What?
I've been very productive. Lucy raised an eyebrow. I held up the haul. 2 packs of Tang Fast sticks.
Little man's favourite.
Exactly. I held up another bag. Revels.
Of course.
They're mine. Then the rest. Paracetamol. Useful. And I revealed the final item. Okay. A grab bag of Maltesers. Lucy's face immediately lit up.
No way.
I handed them over. There you go, babe. She laughed. Actually laughed.
Stolen Maltesers.
Only the best.
It must be true love.
I smiled. What?
First stolen sweets.
She opened the packet.
What's next? Flowers from a lamppost.
I burst out laughing. For a few seconds, everything felt normal again, like we were just a couple on a road trip, not survivors trying to outrun the end of the world. Then we saw the smoke. A massive black column rising into the sky. Thick, dark, impossible to miss. Lucy's smile disappeared instantly.
Oh no.
We're not heading that way. She looked at me.
You sure?
Positive? I checked the sat nav. We turn off before that. She relaxed slightly. Not much, just enough. Eventually, we crossed a bridge. As we came over the top, I saw the hotel below us. There, Lucy followed my gaze. The hotel sat surrounded by buses, children, teachers, soldiers, people milling around with no real idea what was happening. That's them. Before she could say anything, I pulled over around the corner.
Why are we stopping?
Trust me. She looked confused, then suspicious, then worried.
Jim.
Trust me. I clipped Shadow's lead on. The dog happily jumped out. Then we started walking. The second Lucy spotted little man, she took off. She practically sprinted across the car park, wrapped her arms around him, and refused to let go. For a few seconds, nothing else mattered. Not the infected, not the army, not the world ending. Just a mother and her son. I watched them from a distance, smiling despite everything. Then I wandered towards the buses, towards the soldiers, towards the radio equipment. Something wasn't sitting right with me. A map sat on a folding table. Several locations marked. Most crossed out. Only 1 or 2 remained. I lingered nearby, pretending to smoke. Listening. Watching. A radio transmission crackled into life. Broken. Distorted. Containment breach. Site no longer secure. Then silence. The soldier sighed, picked up a marker, and drew another black cross through one of the locations. Another soldier approached.
Another one?
The first nodded.
What about Site 6?
No contact for over 2 hours.
Could just be busy.
The first soldier didn't answer. He didn't look convinced. Neither was I, because I recognized Site 6. I'd been there earlier. The service station. The abandoned service station. The one with the blood-covered baby carrier. The one with something moving in the back room. My stomach dropped. They were sending families there, children there, hundreds of people there. I headed straight back to Lucy. We're not getting on those buses.
What?
We're leaving. She looked confused. I explained everything. The maps, the radio, the containment breaches, the service station. The more I spoke, the paler she became.
What do we do?
We wait.
For what?
The crowd. The opportunity came sooner than expected. The soldiers started organizing people. Numbers, groups, bus assignments. 200 people trying to move at once. Perfect chaos. I've always felt horrendous for not warning people about what they were being sent to. But those soldiers were on edge. They wouldn't have listened to me. They were ready to snap at any minute. I wasn't going to be the reason they did. Nobody noticed us slipping away. Nobody noticed Little Man. Nobody noticed Shadow. By the time anyone realized, we were already back at the car. Are we not getting on the bus? Little Man asked. Nope. Why? Now we're making our own way. His eyes lit up. In your car? Yep. Awesome. Is this car as fast as your old one? Lucy looked at me.
Why's the first thing he cares about how fast the car is?
No idea. Your old car was really fast, Little Man informed me. Thanks, mate. Can we do jumps in this one? Lucy turned slowly towards me.
What?
It's not like that. Little Man grinned. It is, mate. He used to make my tummy go funny. I sighed. Lucy folded her arms. Shadow sat between them, wagging her tail. For the first time in days, all three of them were smiling. And honestly, I'd never been happier to be in trouble. At the time, I thought that the hardest part was over. I couldn't have been more wrong. We stayed on the move for months after that, never staying in one place for too long. Every time somewhere started to feel safe, we'd hear another story, another breach, another evacuation, another place that wasn't as secure as people thought it was. Long enough that the days started blending together. Long enough that Little Man stopped asking when we were going home. Eventually, the government started announcing secure districts, clean zones, safe zones, whatever name they were using that week. Fenced communities began appearing all over the country. Places where the infected had supposedly been eliminated. Places where people could start over. It all happened surprisingly quickly, if you ask me. A little too quickly. But after everything we'd been through, I wasn't about to start asking awkward questions. My name is Jim Peterson, and that's how I survived the apocalypse.
Recording concluded. Survivor account 0065 archived. Incident archive 001 closed. Recording forwarded for internal review.
Recording recovered from Blackwater rubble. File integrity compromised. Transcript approved for archive release.